Songs of praise in 15 minutes here on BBC One, but first, later than build, your points of view.
Good afternoon and welcome to Points of View. Now, you know those sort of people who say, no offence, but, and then proceed to offend you? Is that what the BBC is turning into? The latest suspect in the dock is, guess who? Jeremy Clarkson of Top Gear, who made a joke suggesting that all lorry drivers do is change gear and murder prostitutes. To which you said this.
Another idiot emerges at the BBC who, like Ross & Co., imagines he's a comedian. Jeremy Clarkson's odious remarks about murdering prostitutes really nails to the mast what this insensitive oaf of a presenter is all about. Does it not occur to this silly man how the families of the Ipswich girls must feel on hearing such facetious remarks which relate to their personal tragedy?
Another blatant example of a disparaging remark made by Jeremy Clarkson. Licence payers are sick to death of so-called celebrities with bloated egos and vast salaries. We hope this does not result in another BBC controller getting sacked because of Clarkson's egotistical and patronising attitude. And the younger people who think such remarks are acceptable are most likely not those who pay the TV licence.
Do not overreact to this stuff about Clarkson on Top Gear as you did with Brandon Ross. Yes, he made a stupid joke, but the two situations are totally different. His humour is to be expected if you watch the programme. There has been no invasion of privacy, no personal insult.
The comment may have been in bad taste, but that is what I like about Jeremy. I watch Top Gear because of such asides, not for the cars I have no hope of ever driving.
These do seem to be very sensitive times for the BBC. So does someone make a decision to let this remark through?
Everything that we do and say on the programme is looked at, everybody discusses it, everybody who's got an opinion that should have, goes through the stuff, so it didn't just end up there willy-nilly. It's a show that has an attitude. Once you are making that kind of show, we're going to say and do things that upset people. This is a classic case, this is what happened. But what I will say is, there's as many positive comments out there, if you look on the onlines and everything and other responses, as there are people who thought, no, this is outrageous and were very cross about it. It was the kind of comment that was so exaggerated to the point of like comic absurdity that it just doesn't have any bearing on reality. It doesn't have any meaning about reality. It was just utterly, absurdly exaggerated as a comment, and that's why it stayed there.
From the high-octane world of Top Gear to the equally gas-guzzling explosions on Spooks. Add pyrotechnics to a terrorist storyline, give it a bit of Hollywood gloss, and you have a spy drama that is impressively popular. That fan base would seem to exclude David Marriott, though.
While everyone is trying to cut back on greenhouse gases, why is it film and programme directors continue to use explosives and fuel accelerants to highlight car bombs or other destructive explosions in film sequences? Surely this can be done with computer-generated images. One example is in Spooks, where they blatantly disregard the environment and explode a car bomb.
But carbon footprint aside, the show is going down well.
Congratulations on getting the new series off to an action-packed start, as most regular viewers have now come to expect from such a first-rate production.
This is a brilliant show and would look stunning in HD. Go on, do us all a favour.
Now, from spy mysteries to the story of the disappearing CFAX service. In its heyday, this on-screen text supplied local news, weather forecasts, recipes and DIY tips. And didn't we all love it? It is still a well-used service, but of course analogue is going out the window, so CFAX will too. The name CFAX, which derives from seeing facts on your screen, was launched over 30 years ago in 1974 to give information on sport, news, weather and travel.
It's on the screen that you're looking at now, though you might not be able to see anything very much because it's being transmitted in a code called CFAX. Now, I don't know quite what's happened to my set here at the moment, so I'll switch it on to CFAX now.
Back then we had to pay an extra 50 quid for the service, but in the 90s that wasn't the case anymore, and a staggering 22 million people were reported to use the service every week. There's a problem here though. As Ceefax is winding down in preparation for an all-digital age in 2012, some users have a few issues with the service.
I am puzzled why you have such repetition in BBC One and BBC Two Ceefax pages. There are some variations, like finance on BBC Two, but news, sport and entertainment seem to be identical. In any case, there's also repetition in the main news sheets and the news you may have missed section, maybe 3 or 4 repeats. I used to think it wasn't checked. Now, I think they don't care.
There seems to be a gradual reduction in the quality and content of the analogue service, due no doubt to the switching of resources to digital. It is increasingly apparent that updates are being delayed more and more, particularly weather and local news. Things are getting generally sloppy and careless. There is a feeling they are being rushed as an afterthought. Oops, we've forgotten analogue again.
I can assure analogue viewers that they haven't been forgotten. The way that we now drive the pages on Ceefax is through the news website. So everything that we publish on the news website, we have the ability to send the top 4 paragraphs through to Ceefax. And viewers can see, if they wish, that the fact that the text is the same. What that actually means is we've got many more journalists now writing information that goes to the web and can potentially go to Ceefax. So overall, I would say we're publishing more information and updating it more often on Ceefax than we ever have done in the past. We're doing all we can to make the digital tech service as fast and as slick as we can. We're working on that all the time. We believe now that it is a fast and good way to get around the kind of content that's always been available on Ceefax. We think there's a much more exciting future a bit further down the line, and that's called IPTV. Essentially, it's when you have television pictures delivered over the internet to your TV. And in 2 or 3 years, set-top boxes are going to be much more likely to offer that functionality. And when they do, we'll be able to offer the kind of services on a TV screen that people are used to having on the internet.
So soon we'll have to go elsewhere to see our facts. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the BBC's head of TV scheduling, George Dixon, appeared on this programme defending his decisions to shift, bounce and generally muck about with the transmission times of programmes. Us viewers are, on the whole, creatures of habit, and we like the routine of settling down at regular intervals to watch our favourite shows, don't we? George promised us he'd bear this in mind, but a mere 2 weeks later he's got us all playing Hunt the Dorrit. The first episode was nice and simple. It aired at 8 o'clock on a Sunday night everywhere.
It's Amy Dorrit. Come to call on Mrs. Clenham.
Just a moment.
The second episode was the following Thursday.
No, sir, I'm not wanted there today. I'm going to meet a friend.
Will you allow me to walk with you?
Except in Scotland, where it was Friday. Episodes 1 and 2 were then reshown as an omnibus at 5:20 on Sunday, and the wait for episode 3 was until Wednesday on BBC One and HD. Then episode 4 aired on Thursday. Confused? Actually, scratch that. I'd say the emotional range was more in the angry bracket than confused.
I wasn't able to keep up with the erratic scheduling of the episodes. I guess moving it about the schedules was intended to draw audiences into watching more TV, but the practical effect for me has been to leave me feeling cheated. I consider I pay my licence fee for the BBC to produce such high-quality drama, but the way it has been aired is very disappointing.
Just as with the BBC's last big Sunday evening costume drama, I've lost track of the episodes of Little Dorrit and consequently given up watching it. Why is the scheduling of the episodes and repeats such a muddle, and made worse by the fact that the BBC is apparently not informing the TV listings magazines which episode is being screened, such as 1 of 6 or 2 of 6, etc. Without that, it's hopeless. As far as I'm concerned, the whole series has therefore been a complete waste of time and licence payers' money.
I'd call those unhappy customers, and I don't think overrunning live sport or pop concerts can be blamed this time. You remember that was one reason for changing schedules we've been given, and it set a certain John Bellis thinking.
Well, when I go on holiday, I set the recorder for some programme I want to see when I get back, only to discover that maybe the schedules are late for some reason, and I miss the programme I've set the recorder for. It might be a sport event or something else. Obviously, people want to see the whole programme, but it's a nuisance to me when the programme I want to see is cut off. Oh, not again.
So what do you suggest, John?
Well, if you have a new channel called, say, BBC Live or something of that nature, and all your live broadcasting would go on that one channel. So that it wouldn't matter how long a programme ran. You might have the cup final, it overruns with extra time and penalties and commentary, and you need an extra hour for it. Well, people would know on that channel some of the secondary programming or a repeat would simply be scrapped, and that the main purpose of that channel would be for the live event. It's not just me, is it?
May I suggest the Beeb invest in the possibility of having their own terrestrial BBC Sports channel? They had BBC One, BBC Two, then added BBC Three and BBC Four, so why not take the headache of the overruns and cancellations to popular programmes out of the mix and have sport on a separate channel? Come on, Beeb, you should be way ahead of the viewers, not lapsing way behind.
Could this be the start of something wonderful? BBC One started in 1936, BBC Two in 1964, BBC Three and Four in 2003 and 2, and now BBC Live in 2008? We live in hope. John Bellis, would-be channel controller there, whereas on BBC Two we have John Prescott, would-be social commentator, with his documentary on class. Did you see it? Well, it's not his socio-economic philosophies that are interesting viewers, but the fact that he fails to wear a seatbelt.
I hope the due process of law is being wielded against him for putting his and a young person's life in danger whilst not wearing a seatbelt in a moving car. I noticed that Mrs. Prescott was not as stupid as her husband.
Why is he allowed to do this, as it is illegal? Surely because he is a politician, he is not above the law. I repeat, not above the law.
Do they really know what they mean when they write that?
People say about benefits culture, you've lifted the benefits to a certain extent to, as it's supposed to be defined, to be able to live on it, not starve on it.
Well, it's an arrogance beyond belief.
John, it's not that difficult, it's just, click. Tiger Aspect, who make the programme, have put their hands up saying, we take health and safety very seriously, but on this occasion there was an unfortunate oversight. We are genuinely sorry for our mistake. And finally, today sees the culmination of the BBC's Remembrance coverage, which this year was extended to a season marking 90 years of remembrance and featuring output across all BBC services. In a way, this coverage is at the heart of the BBC's mission. So does it meet the required standard in tone, length and quality? Cadets and trainers in Derby give their verdict.
I think today, from when you ask younger cadets about Armistice Day, D-Day, the Second World War, their knowledge isn't great. I think the coverage has to be done for the younger generation. They need to know about what happened.
It's good that you're actually celebrating it. It would be good if you celebrated 91st, 92nd.
The BBC are doing a tremendous job in doing what they are doing, highlighting the fact that it is 90 years and it's a remarkable age. Most of my cadets are asking themselves, well, what's Remembrance Day?
My age group does need quite a bit more aimed at them, as some of them haven't got a clue about what it's all about.
I think it's important to put programmes on it after school so families can sit down while they're eating tea or something so they can watch the programmes together. Yeah.
I do think the BBC coverage of My Family at War and Michael Palin, tremendous, absolutely tremendous.
World War I had started over Belgian neutrality, so it seemed fitting that this was where it would end.
What happened, why it happened, what took place. You can never have overkill. It helps towards what's important, and that's remembering.
And Remembrance continues with a special Songs of Praise next, and a documentary on Vera Brittain, an extraordinary war hero, later tonight. So let us know what you think of those and the rest of next week's programming. Write to Points of View, BBC Birmingham B11RF. You're also more than welcome to email. The address is pov@bbc.co.uk. Our website for details on how to upload films and lots of other content, including the chance to view the show again on iPlayer, bbc.co.uk/POV. Or phone us. The number is charged as a local rate call from a landline. It is 0370 908 3199. Goodbye.